I call to order a regular meeting of the Watchung Borough School District. It is February 20th, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please? Mrs. Bishop Johnson?
Do you want to read the welcome?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975, and that the advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung at which formal action may be taken. This meeting is being live streamed on the district website where a recording of the meeting will also be posted. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda at points in the meeting provided for the public to address the board. Recording or photographing other than for private personal use requires the consent of parents or guardians whose children may be included in the image. Can we do a roll call, please, Mrs. Bishop Johnson?
Mrs. Amadeo,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Here.
Mrs. Jewett,
Here.
Mr. Kraft,
Here.
Mrs. Maddox,
Here.
Mrs. Santos, Mrs. Agliaro,
Here.
Mr. Frage is absent, and Mrs. Harvey is absent. Thank you.
We'll start with a presentation on the district's student safety data system and our submission for period 1 by Dr. Glazer.
Thank you. So just so you aren't confused that this is the twice yearly HIB report that Mrs. DeToto gives, this SSDS is our requirement to the New Jersey Department of Education. We do it twice yearly. Period 1 is what we're reporting now, so that is July 1st to December 31st. And what this is a report to the state of any incidents of violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. It also addresses the trainings that we do in HIB, any programs that we conduct to support those efforts. But it is the compliance report on all of those things, not just HIB. So I do want people to know that it is a slight difference. On your agenda, there is a chart detailing the incidents for Bayberry and Valley View, as well as for the district. In addition to incidents, it talks about incidents leading to removal, any kind of restraint or seclusion, HIBs, alleged HIB trainings, and HIB programs. So just to break it down a little bit, when you look at the incidences of violence, vandalism, substance abuse, weapons, and HIB confirmed, there is just one at Valley View, and that is HIB confirmed. There were no other incidences of violence, vandalism, substance abuse, or weapons. You'll also see under the other incidents leading to removal, you're going to see, I just want to make sure I read it correctly, you're going to see at Valley View that there are 2. Those are negative physical contact, both of those. And leading to removal means suspension, in case you think otherwise. And for Bayberry, there is just 1. It was also inappropriate physical contact, but in that case, it is towards staff. Again, leading to removal is suspension. We had no incidents that required restraint or seclusion, no alleged HIB anything. We had the confirmed HIB and then code of conduct violations. You'll also see a large number of trainings and programs. So you'll see at Bayberry School, 7 trainings and Valley View 4, and 1 at the district level. Some of them are repeated, but I'm going to go through just so you get an idea of the kinds of things that we did in this first reporting period. You've heard of all of them publicly in our reports, but I'm going to repeat them because I think it's important for people to understand that the efforts are on an ongoing basis. So the training at Bayberry included the understanding the needs of our multilingual learners. That was for our anti-bullying specialists, all the teachers, all of the school staff. We had anti-Semitism training by the Israel American Council at both Valley View and Bayberry for our faculty. That was providing definition of anti-Semitism, how to deal with it when it is observed or reported, the type of communication that you would have with the community or families of the victim or the offender. We had understanding the needs of multilingual learners. That was specific to school-level administrators and our other staff. We have been doing, and I think we reported this as part of what we added in the budget, the CPI training, the Nonviolent Crisis Intervention training. That was held, again, for all of our district administrators, the anti-bullying coordinator, all school-level administrators, our teachers, our staff. That is a 6-hour training, different than some of, the 1-hour things that you might see at a faculty meeting. As part of our grade level meetings, we have spent 3 hours at Bayberry on training in harassment, intimidation, bullying, and code of conduct. We also, on our opening days for our new staff, as part of our new staff orientation, for our substitutes, as part of the bus driver orientation, we provide all of that training again. And we have the Safe Schools harassment, intimidation, and bullying training for our staff. That's a 2-hour training on prevention and instruction. Again, different from the opening day, which is a focus on the policy, how we implement the policy, how it's reported, the different timelines. So some of these, like I said, are repeated for Valley View, but in addition at Valley View, during our Mountaineer Monday lesson, the first one on school climate and culture improvement, we do a lot of talking about harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We also had training for our district level administrators, our anti-bullying coordinators, our teachers, and other staff from the Lifelines Interventions training. That training is part of a grant, and with Empower Somerset on suicide prevention, very heavy HIB emphasis. We do, again, our staff training at faculty meetings and that with the policies, the procedures, the prevention. We also have the district prevention and instruction, which is the recognition and response training for everybody at faculty meetings. I did want to say that Lifelines training is 4 hours, again, not a one-off kind of training. And again, programmatically, there are a lot of things that we do to support our efforts. And this is not just HIB, right? This is all of these kinds of incidents that come up, all of the kinds of issues that we deal with HIB, code of conduct. We have our Week of Respect activities district-wide. At Bayberry, they're doing the Responsive Classroom Program morning meeting. That is a school-wide program at Bayberry for setting the social-emotional environment for the day. It is, again, all of our teachers, administrators, anti-bullying coordinator, paraprofessionals, everybody at Bayberry. At the pre-K level, we do the ALS PALS, which is the social-emotional learning. That is the programs run by our teachers in pre-K. We have our second step social emotional learning curriculum program. We also have our Early Act Community Service Club. They do any number of school-wide and service events throughout the year at Bayberry, and I think you'll hear a little bit about that in the principal's report today, one of the things that we've done this month. At Valley View, in addition to the things you heard with Week of Respect, obviously we have our Mountaineer Mondays, but we also have School Violence Awareness Week activities that happen in October. And as you know, we had our PTO-sponsored Assembly You Don't Know Me, the Dr. Fallon presentation for students and families. We also have coming up in March, because you won't hear this report until August, but in March we do have for the faculty, the Hindu Education Association is coming in and doing cultural training with faculties at Bayberry and Valley View. And then during Holy on March 13th and 14th, they have volunteers coming in working with our staff. They'll be doing whole presentation on Darshana and Holy for all the students at Bayberry, and at Valley View, it'll cycle through our social studies classes at Valley View. Then we will be doing, as promised, our parents' HIB programming. And we've also, it's interesting, this has been reported, I think, in the last 2 meetings, not just at our countywide school board meetings, at my roundtable, at the principals roundtable. We've had some wonderful grief presentations, grief organization presentations, and we've invited them to also do a parent session coming up. So again, since you won't get this report again until the end of August, and even though we report it every month, it's really tied to this work in particular. It does get reported again to the state. It is on the state website if you want to also see all of this.
Thank you, Dr. Glazer.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
There's so much, sounds like so many positive educational opportunities happening.
Indeed.
Do we ever report on changes in the numbers of these incidences over time
Question, sorry.
to know whether or not all of this good stuff is working and where we might be missing something?
That's a great question, and I apologize. So when you go on the website, it gives you the whole history, right? Like you can see just on the front page, if you open it, I think it goes back to 2019. Ours are very consistent, and our district is small with just 2 schools, so we are pretty consistent. I think what we're seeing more, at least in the time that I've been here, and then I'm going to tell you something funny related to that, code of conduct, right? Actual, not discipline, behaviors, right? Not necessarily tied to harassment, intimidation, and bullying, specific characteristics, but behaviors that violate that code of conduct policy and what we expect of students. And what I will say that
See that changing?
I've seen an increase, and that what I was going to say was funny. You know, we're going through strategic planning. We have all this construction going on, so they keep cleaning out rooms and spaces. And Tuesday, I received a binder of newspaper articles. There's actually more, but I only had time to start with the oldest one, from 1970, articles from the Sentinel and some other newspapers that I'm not sure exist. I don't have time, didn't have time. If I did, I would have scanned them and added them to my PowerPoint. The headlines: a shocking budget increase of 12%. Negotiations with the teachers. Parents needing to ride the school bus. That one is behavior related. Regionalization. It's like 55 years, never happened. So when I say funny, just that we see it, and I do think it's not cyclical, right? We're middle school, we're in elementary school, students are students. That doesn't excuse it, and I do think that a tremendous amount of work goes into addressing it in the moment. Again, the PTO, WEF, CPAG, all participate in programming to try and nurture that culture. You hear a lot of this programming is about culture, right? I don't know, Ms. Kidd, since you're here, I know you probably weren't prepared, but this is what you do. This is Mountaineer Mondays. This is what we do. Is there anything you want to add? Are we seeing more incidents? Are we seeing, when we're comparing over time?
Right, that was really my question, yeah.
You couldn't hear her?
It's not.
Oh,
not
well,
for
then
streaming
yes.
to the mic.
Sorry, Mrs. Kidd, if you could just repeat that. I understand it didn't stream, and we don't want to miss the.
All I was saying was that it changes. The students change, so the types of incidents change, whether it's HIB or code of conduct, depending on the groups of students. What we do look for is if there's a trend, if it's the same type of behavior or incident that's happening over and over again, and then we would address that with programming. But it also, we have to look at, is it an individual student that's having the same issue over and over again? Then we address the individual student instead. So that would be my 2 cents. My 5.5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have other questions?
No, I think it would be interesting as a board to see what those patterns are, might be, you know. That's all.
Anyone else?
I was just thinking, sometimes I really think you need to have parents come in and have the counselor talk to them because sometimes they don't know what to do with their children. And they have a difficult time with this. So maybe we could do something like that. I know it's hard to get parents out at night, it's late, they have children, they have to make dinner. But if we could get a group of parents out to listen to what the counselor says, this is what you should do when they do this, this would work, let's try this. I just think that would be something good if we could do that.
I do think that is part of what we're hoping with that to explain
Yeah.
HIB versus code of conduct. And I do know when we have issues, right, individually, counselor speaks to families and try and help, but we will see how we can add that in to a parent series.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. I'm going to move the executive session to after comments from the public, because we do have public members here. So comments from the public on agenda items, and then we'll go into executive session.
We'll have the committee report, so that's good.
So we can go straight into superintendent remarks.
Well, actually, principal first.
Okay.
So, Ms. Kidd, you're going to do Bayberry and Valley View tonight? Thank you so much.
Good evening again, everyone. At both schools for the month of February, we have been celebrating Black History Month and Lunar New Year with engaging lessons, activities, and spirit days. Students have completed their mid-year iReady diagnostic assessments in reading and math. Teachers are now analyzing the data to identify strengths and areas for growth. Parent reports will be available soon through the Genesis Parent Portal. Earlier this month, our ESL teachers participated in a full day of professional development to enhance their strategies for supporting our multilingual learners. On February 18th, our entire staff took part in a variety of professional development workshops on topics including power standards, differentiation, executive functioning, enrichment, co-teaching, data-driven instruction, CPR certification, and much more. At Bayberry, our second graders put on a fantastic performance of Welcome to the Jungle during the week of February 3rd. The students shined with their singing, dancing, and acting thanks to the incredible guidance of Mrs. Riley and the teachers. A big thank you to our staff and the parent volunteers who helped make it a success. Today, our preschoolers took center stage for their preschool sing-along. Our 3- and 4-year-olds did an amazing job, and we appreciate the dedication again of Mrs. Riley and of our preschool staff in making it a special event. Bayberry celebrated Valentine's Day with a full week of spirit activities, ending with classroom parties filled with crafts, games, and treats. The 3rd grade Early Act Club wrapped up its popular Penny Wars fundraiser, raising an incredible $4,000 to purchase new recess equipment. A huge thank you to our generous school community for making it possible. At Valley View Middle School, marking period 2 report cards were released on February 7th via the Genesis Parent Portal. This is a great opportunity to review your child's progress and plan for a strong second half of the school year. Our Mountaineer Monday lessons this month focused on intent versus impact. Students participated in small group lessons on February 10th and will come together for a school-wide session with their colored teams across grade levels on February 24th. Our Community Outreach Club hosted its annual senior luncheon in our newly renovated Learning Commons. Students served lunch, worked on crafts, and played games with local senior citizens while our band and chorus provided entertainment. The PTO's first ever talent show at Valley View was a huge success. Thanks to our amazing teacher and parent volunteers, it was a magical night for our student performers. Congratulations to our boys basketball team on an undefeated season and winning the championship. Yes, they need applause, absolutely. We're also thrilled to share that 5 Valley View students earned spots in the Central Jersey Region 2 Intermediate Band after competing against over 600 students in auditions last month. They will perform at Bridgewater Middle School on March 2nd. Congratulations to Alec Cholwecki, Jed Chang, Hanya Khatib, Allison Park, and Katrina Ling. And also congratulations to our top finishers in this year's AMC 8 math competition held on January 23rd. In first place, Alec Cholwecki. Second place, Noah Chen and Nicholas Pereira. Third place, Amanda Farley and Michelle Yoba. The AMC 8, sponsored by the Mathematical Association of America, encourages problem-solving skills in a fun and low-stress environment. Our Teams competition was held in the Fishbowl area of the Learning Commons. Teams, which means Tests of Engineering Aptitude, Mathematics, and Science, is an annual science, technology, engineering, and mathematics competition that challenges middle school and high school student teams to work collaboratively to solve real-world engineering challenges. Participants apply their math and science knowledge in practical and creative ways. We're excited to hear what their final results were and how our teams did. And finally, we are super excited to announce that Valley View will have a spring musical this year. Auditions will take place on Tuesday, March 4th and Thursday, March 6th at 4:30 p.m. We will announce it to the students tomorrow. So we're looking forward to another great month ahead. Have a great evening.
What's the show?
Thank you.
I wanted her to tell you before everybody. You were just excited that there's somebody on the agenda to be the musical director, right? Like, it was wonderful to be able to find somebody. All right, Miss Bishop Johnson, what do we got in the business office?
Exciting things. The business office is finished with the calendar year-end reporting that we have to do for outside agencies like the IRS, et cetera. And we are basically now working on the budget for next school year. So that is all we are doing. All we do every day.
That's it.
Yep.
25 hours a day.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the district update, Dr.
Yep.
Glazer?
Although I somehow just closed it. But yeah, I do. Erin, could you run the PowerPoint I didn't want to interrupt Mrs. Kidd. So what you're seeing up, first of all, we had our first strategic plan meeting, district planning meeting, to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the district. It was an in-person meeting with the community. Groups got together to identify their perceived strengths and weaknesses here in Watchung Borough. It is facilitated by the New Jersey School Boards Association. If you look at the district website, you'll be able to see the school board's process for the strategic planning, as well as the outcomes from that meeting. There is also my presentation. I gave the State of the District update to kick off that meeting. It was really very powerful. I was excited to participate in it. Our next meeting in person, right here in this same room, will be March 3rd. On March 3rd, at our second meeting, we're going to talk about our aspirations for the future of the district, where we see ourselves in the next 3 years, 5 years, even further into the future. There will be a third strategic planning meeting, March 26th, where we'll start our goal setting after the big themes are identified. And again, we'll continue to remind you to please come out, bring a neighbor, bring a friend, to participate in those meetings, and we'll continue to update the website with outcomes and additional information. As Ms. Kidd shared, we did have our senior luncheon here at Valley View. I want to read some correspondence that we received from who wrote, Mrs. Mary Oborn wrote for the Watchung seniors to, I know I have glasses somewhere, to Ms. Franco, Ms. Miller, Ms. Morrison, and to the choir and music, and our teacher playing the piano for the choir. We, the Watchung seniors, want to express our most sincere thanks to you, the Community Outreach Club, Band and Choir, for such a wonderful afternoon. It was filled, if you look while I'm reading, there's great pictures. It was filled with lovely interactions between the seniors and students. They were very polite and helpful, serving beverages and lunch and explaining and helping us with the crafts, running the bingo game, and overseeing ensuring everybody made the right boxes. We loved all of the entertainment, and for me personally, the flute solo, because my daughter continues to play the flute in the church orchestra. Thank you all so much. God willing, we'll be invited again next year. We would love to return. We are so impressed by all of you, the Watchung seniors. Also, P.S., we love seeing Bianca Martino, one of our early Girl Scouts and community students, volunteering again. So these two ladies, I actually introduced the woman sitting, Florence. She was one of our 6th grade teachers. I believe she told me she is 94 currently, and this is the highlight, coming back and visiting. She came to the offices to see what had changed, where her classroom used to be, everything. It's the business office. But we were excited to have them, and it was truly a lovely, lovely afternoon. So thank you to everybody that made that happen. There's our boys basketball. It was a very exciting game. If you keep seeing the pictures, it was hugely attended. I have not seen at middle school that kind of involvement and excitement. Look at all those posters kids made to support each other. I mean, and it was a packed house, both teams. It was fabulous. I loved it. A few exciting moments happening. Our teachers and parents nervous. But as you see, we won in the end. Also, there you go. They won, big celebrations. We had celebrities there. You can see our coaches, Mayor Jubin, Councilman Dahl. Again, so many of our teachers, Ms. Kidd. Thank you, because somebody has to be on the door. Somebody has to manage the crowd. We had our school resource officer with us. It's exciting to be able to celebrate in this way. You'll see on the agenda tonight that a banner has been donated to honor the kids that won. That'll be hung in the gym. And I believe at the council meeting next week, they'll also be recognized, our middle school team. So, talent show, yep, our PTO talent show is fabulous. Again, so much thanks to everybody that put it together and volunteered. We had, in addition to these 4 teachers who were judges and helped participate, we had our music and choir teacher there to help with the piano. Again, the school resource officer. The kids just were amazing. Every single act. I couldn't put in every picture. I'm sorry if I missed you. But every single act just was terrific. And again, the number of kids that came out to support their classmates, they had signs. It was really a lovely evening. Next Friday is the Bayberry Talent Show. It will be held right here at the Valley View APR. And again, I will just in advance thank all of the volunteers and teachers that make that happen, right? Because it doesn't happen without them showing up. So big thank yous. We at Bayberry, you heard during Lunar New Year, we had a wonderful Chinese acrobatic performance, really interactive, including the students. It was a lot of fun. You can see they're all having fun. We also, sorry, the timing is slower than I talk. I'll talk slower. We had our referendum town hall where the designs for the outdoor learning commons and the multi-use field were presented by architect Frank Bowlby and our construction manager, Connor O'Brien from Legacy Construction Management. All of the renderings of the designs are on the district website. You will have another opportunity if you missed coming out that night to provide feedback and ask questions. To do that, online we'll be sending that out imminently. Just a quick one to get your ideas. Second grade play. Again, I know we already acknowledged Miss Riley and our wonderful second graders and their teachers, and Miss Fichtner. It's always a lot of fun. Miss Riley is retiring in June, and she will be missed. There she is with her, getting her flowers. Lots of spirit weeks lately. This was Royalty Day. All of us wearing our crowns, and Valentine's Spirit Day. Lots of fun. Kids love it. Here is our honor choir or region choir. We've had both of them. This is the honor band, honors band. Our regional, again, Miss Kidd talked about which of the 5 students qualified. That's a lot, by the way, for such a small district. I don't know if you really realize that. That's a lot of kids to be included. So again, congratulations and thank you to Miss Morrison. Here we are at the preschool sing-along today. I think we're up to date. It's a lot that's happened since the last board meeting. I do just want to remind you not just of the strategic plan meeting, but next month's board meeting will be Tuesday, March 18th. That is the day that we'll present, not the final budget, the tentative budget, talk about the goals and where we're at heading into the budgeting year. There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Glazer. So that brings us to committee reports. Mrs. Santos, can you give the curriculum committee report, please?
Curriculum committee meeting met on Thursday, February 13th. Meeting time was from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Meeting was virtual. Attendance was Dr. Glazer, Karen Bishop Johnson, Jennifer Aguilero, Dory Harvey, myself, Jessica Maddox, Denise Fichtner, and Karen Kidd. The committee went over the following agenda items. New business, referendum field and outdoor learning commons follow-up. The town hall took place. The administration decided to go with what was presented to the community and the images created that were posted on the district website for all to see. Students, staff, and the community gave their input, and all the drawings and videos are available for all to see. Curriculum update, resource adoption timeline. Principal Fickner gave an update for Bayberry. IDE, a series for third and fourth grade are being reviewed, and teachers are giving input on the curriculum and books for mainly language, arts, and math. IDE has and will continue to provide professional development to staff to help them understand best practices to pick materials in conjunction with curriculum. Principal Kidd gave an update for Valley View. The new math program is being narrowed down. Teachers piloted in a program called Big Ideas, and the representative from the company is coming to meet with the staff to discuss the program and answer any questions. The staff is also trying out a computer-based supplemental resource called Delta. The resource is used for extra practice at home with videos, and the program will adjust to students' individual levels. The teachers will continue to examine the software. Professional development is coming up on February 18, 2025. On the schedule will be in the board packet for the board to review. ESY Director of Special Services, Mrs. Itoda, discussed the extended school year summer program. The district is looking to hold ESY Monday through Thursday, June 30th, 2025 to July 31st, 2025, and is hoping to hold it in Watchung. She is looking to continue a shared service agreement with saved the district about $25,000 last year. Mrs. Itoda is still working on where the location of the ESY program will be this summer. Hindu education, Dr. Glazer provided an update on what the schools will do for Holi, is an important Hindu celebration. Holi, also known as the Festival of Colors, is a celebration of spring, love, and new life. It's celebrated on the last full moon, which is usually in March. The festival is celebrated with bonfires, colored powder, sweets, music, and dancing. Holi is a time to let go of negative energy and embrace the positive. The school will have a photo and poster displayed. The staff will share the meaning of Holi with all students. The superintendent will check with the borough and the PTO to see if a color run can be organized outside of school hours. Sports. Principal gave an update on sports enrollment within Valley View. At this point, there isn't enough enrollment and participation to field most of the sport teams in the district. An after-school sports club was created, and we have an extremely high enrollment for the club. Budget development. The administration discussed the world language program in both schools. They are looking to hire another Spanish world language teacher in Valley View. The committee agreed with the path the administration is taking with developing the world language program and the additional hire. Staffing. Positions for the musical director and ESY planning coordinator were discussed and put on the agenda. The committee agreed with the positions. Musical director hire, ESY planning coordinator. And on new business, there was no new business.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Santos.
Do you mind if, because we met on February 13th, and just a couple
Absolutely.
updates. So, professional learning, you got to hear about from Ms. Kidd. What you didn't hear about, and we should have done it during the business office, because it's really you. As part of our insurance program, there is a program that allows our staff a stipend to plan wellness initiatives. And on Tuesday, they had chair massages during the day at both schools. What did you do in the gym? You also had in the gym, didn't you? What?
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And the feedback, I have to say, I don't typically get, a bunch of emails from staff. The feedback for the day was wonderful, and they're very excited because the next professional learning day, they got to vote on stations. It's nutrition. I know Bayberry's vote was doing smoothies. They're doing a smoothie something bar in addition to the academic professional learning. Did you guys pick here? Do you know? You don't know.
Nutrition.
All right. Again, nutrition-based here. And it'll be a different, they had to vote also. There was all different kinds of choices. So I'll be excited to see what the vote turned out to be for that. So that was held on Tuesday. We did follow up to see if we could do anything with Holy this year. Holy is March 14th. It was too short notice. But I did start that conversation with the borough. The PTO has a membership meeting next week where I guess it won't be a surprise when I add it to the agenda to talk about, but that'll be for next year. Also, since that meeting was February 13th, I feel like I need to talk about sports, baseball, softball in particular. So as of that meeting on the 13th, it was reported to us that we had 6 8th grade students, 1 7th grade student, and 6 grade 6 students who had expressed their interest in spring baseball. That is not enough participation to field a team, and I want to talk about why that is. I think it's probably fairly clear that you need, more than the required people on the field, right? You need another pitcher, catcher. You need to be able to throw from first to third base, right? A number of things. In Watchung Borough, and we, just so you know, we did reach out to other districts. We reached out to the Warren and Watchung Little League over the past few weeks to see what we could do to find out about feeder programs, to find out about the rec programs. Our coaches and PE teachers have been part of this for more than 20 years. So processes in these, this is the first time that we are not able to safely field a team. And I just want to talk about the numbers involved with that. So our 6th grade participation is limited participation. What that means is that our 6th graders are still in the Little League. They play on a smaller field. They play with lighter bats. That throwing from the outfield to the pitcher's mound, from first to third base, is a developmental thing that is part of being on the team as a 6th grader. The coaches typically, when there's interest, so in all the PE classes, people sign up for spring sports, whatever they are, softball, baseball, track and field. They collect all of those names and interest, and then typically what would happen is that the packets, there's a packet that goes home, permission slips, schedules, physical form. They did not send those home on Friday. The coaches ended up meeting individually and in small groups with the 7th and 8th graders and with our 6th graders. And they let them know. They told the 7th and 8th graders that there were not enough players to safely field a team, that Mr. McConnell, I think a lot of you probably know Mr. McConnell. I met him this year. He's been with the high school and part of our coaching staff for years. He is working with the Little League to add a 7th, 8th, and 9th grade organized program, including Warren, Watchung, Greenbrook, and Long Hill. They're hoping to have information on that in the next few weeks. And I am told that they also told the 6th graders that there were not enough players to safely field a team based on all of the things I just mentioned. But they tell me that they were very encouraging for them to enjoy their last year of Little League, because Little League does go through 6th grade. They shared with me that many also play on travel and club teams, And when we reached out to Little League and we reached out to the other districts to find out if they were seeing similar trends, if they had similar concerns and numbers, they did. And we were able to find out that part of it's not a bad problem, it's a great problem, that in addition to the Little League, there's travel programs, club programs, kids are on more than one team, they compete and they don't commit necessarily to the school program. And our coaches shared again with me that they told the sixth graders that they wanted them to enjoy this year. They were excited to see them back on the field next year and in the future years. 3 of the 6 sixth graders that expressed interest have now gotten packets for track. They're looking forward to participating in track. And just for point of interest, about 70 students have signed up for track and field, 5th grade through 8th grade. That deadline is next week in case anybody is not signed up yet that wants to be. I just, based on the minutes, I think you made it really clear. This isn't about the budget. This isn't that we don't have coaches. We have coaches. We had prepared to field a team. It is in the budget. It's, we are not cutting baseball, right, or softball. We literally do not have enough participation to safely field a team. And that is for baseball and softball. So grades 6, 7, and 8 girls, only 3 total expressed an interest in softball. They are also on multiple teams in multiple activities. This year, for the first time, our 6th grade girls were able to play on the basketball team because there were not enough numbers. Despite everybody signing a contract, students and parents, saying that they would be committed, that they would be at practices and games. Unfortunately, the other teams and activities were prioritized, and the team forfeited games because there were not enough people to show up to play. So again, just not enough current participation in baseball and softball.
Thank you, Dr. Glazer. Moving on to admin finance report. We have a public comment section coming up, so hold on for a sec. For the administration finance report, I'm going to give it because Mohammed Frage is not in attendance tonight. So the administration and finance committee met on Tuesday, February 11th in person at 4 p.m. In attendance were myself, Mohammed Frage, Dory Harvey, Julie Glazer, and Karen Bishop Johnson. Manuel Gonzalez attended by phone from 4 to 5 p.m. Guests attended virtually and included Ricky Boyd, Tim Sties, who's the Watchung Hills Regional High School Business Administrator, and Kelly Sheehan, who's the K-12 Transportation Coordinator. The committee discussed the shared services agreement with the high school regarding transportation, as well as the role and responsibilities of the Transportation Coordinator. Mr. Boyd gave the committee a referendum projects update, including progress on insulation installation, the STEM room vent, and various wall repairs. We also reviewed the field and outdoor learning commons drawings and the input received about them from community stakeholders. We discussed the possibility of reinstating a late bus at Valley View, and this was a wish list item that had been identified during the first strategic planning meeting with the community. Agenda items were reviewed and included professional development, pay application number 9, payment of bills, transfers and financial reports, the sale of obsolete Chromebooks, the use of Colonial Life Insurance as a vendor, the Special Education Medicaid Initiative waiver, and the Seton Hall University Student Nursing Agreement. No issues were identified. Finally, we discussed the upcoming budget and reviewed estimated fund balances, revenues, and expenditures, and the meeting ended at 6 p.m. Now we'll move on to the Policy Committee report. Mrs. Amadeo.
The Policy Committee met on Wednesday, February 12th, virtually from 5:35 p.m. to 7:16 p.m. In attendance was Dr. Glazer, the superintendent, myself, Phyllis Jewett, Jenna Aguilera, Pinky Nielsen, who's the secretary to the superintendent, Tim Sties, the business administrator for Watchung Hills, and Kelly Sheehan, K-12 transportation coordinator. joined the meeting for the first about 45 minutes. We reviewed several safety questions with Mr. Stiles and Ms. Sheehan in an effort to understand what guidelines might help coordinators in the future when routing for our district. Our biggest safety issue seems to stem from commuters not stopping for buses on major thoroughfares. So the committee discussed a guideline that would require same-side bus stops on those commuter thoroughfares. While kids are arriving to school on time, there is still a short wait for some of the buses to arrive at Bayberry at the end of the school day. Ms. Sheehan offered some solutions that she will continue to explore. We currently have many empty spots on buses being saved for students that never ride, so we discussed an opt-in form for busing. There will be more discussion around that. Danielle will update the current suggested guidelines based on this discussion for the committee to review next month. Up for the first reading, Regulation 7510, use of school facilities, and up for second reading, Policy 7510, use of school facilities, were discussed together. Dr. Glazer confirmed the need for custodial fees on weekends for all renters and agreed that charging for PTO and WEF events would be rare and at the administration's discretion. A few typos were corrected as well. This regulation is up for a vote to move to second reading. New business, Policy 2365, acceptable use of generative artificial intelligence. The administration was asked for feedback on the types of guidelines that might be useful to include in this policy for our district. Admin agreed that training in AI is critical, and we discussed some of the guidelines that could be put in place. Our head of technology will provide a list of sites worth reviewing for for approved use in the classroom. Policy 5701, academic integrity. This would be tied in with the AI policy and would include a statement about AI. Policy 7490, dog walking. The committee discussed comments raised at a recent town hall about dog walking on school property. We reviewed and discussed the borough's responsibility in this matter and talked about adding more signs potentially on the property. Jim D'Amato will get back to us on the ordinance and any related consequences. Then we reviewed the NJSBA regulation audit from last year. We worked through the list of policies that needed updating last year, and I have scheduled out the regulations that need to be reviewed now to complete those over the course of this year. Administration is interested in purchasing a Strauss Esme subscription in order to maintain our policy and regulation list more efficiently, manage updates quickly, and provide all regulations online to the public. Currently, only policies are available online, so that will be reviewed further.
Thank you, Mrs. Amadeo. Mr. Gonzalez, can you give the update for the negotiations committee?
We were supposed to meet on February 6th, but it was canceled due to snow, and we're scheduled to meet on February 25th, Tuesday.
Thank you. For board liaison reports, legislative liaison, Mrs. Maddox.
So there's one signed by Governor Murphy, signed on Monday, February 3rd, the school board petition, which is A5117S-3994, increases the number of signatures required for candidates to be eligible to be placed on primary, general, nonpartisan, municipal, and school election ballots. With respect to boards of education, the new law requires candidates to collect 25 signatures on their direct nominating petitions, an increase from 10. The law is effective and retroactive January 1st, 2025. Therefore, candidates for April Board of Education elections should obtain at least 25 signatures on their nominating petitions to avoid the possibility of having their petition invalid for insufficient number of signatures, or the need to submit new petition before the filing deadline. The New Jersey School Board Association candidate kit contains additional information. And, give me one second. Contains additional information and resources for anyone considering running for their local school board. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Maddox. And then is there a report for the Somerset County Educational Services Commission?
There is,
but I'm going to give you a very minimal, because I was just advised of the meeting 2 hours before, and when I went to the meeting, I was sworn in, so it was my very first official meeting. So there was 7 individuals that were sworn in from Bernards, Bridgewater, Hillsborough Township, Montgomery, North Plainfield, Warren Township, and then, of course, Watchung. And as I mentioned, you can just give a very highlighted overview. They were reviewing the 25-26 budget summary, and was presented by Jeff Spinola, business administrator and board secretary. I'm not going to go into that since I didn't really have the information to go into details and share. And then Frank Barber, acting principal, presented the 24-25 Governor's Educators of the Year awards that evening. And that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Mrs. Amadeo, do you have a report for the Somerset County School Boards Association?
No update.
Okay. And I'm the liaison for the School Boards Association. I also have no update other than just a reminder to do your mandatory training. I am the representative for the Regionalization Committee. Just give me a minute, I'll pull up the report. The Watchung Hills Shared Services Regionalization Feasibility Study Advisory Group met on Thursday, January 30th, to receive an update from the project research team from the Rowan School Regionalization Institute. The researchers shared the progress made on data collection and the next steps in scheduling interviews for superintendents, business administrators, curriculum directors, special services, and faculty. They also highlighted the ongoing work in evaluating facilities, transportation, and demographic projections. The group plans to communicate with the public through local media outlets and a proposed public town hall in early April. The study process remains on schedule to have a preliminary draft report presented to the advisory group by May. Once the draft report has been presented, the next steps in the process will be determined. And then Dr. Glazer, do you have a report for Morris Union?
Morris Union Jointure meeting's actually next Wednesday, February 26th. It'll be when they present their preliminary budget, so I'll have a report next month.
Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to community engagement, is there anyone here from PTO? Anyone from WEF? Anyone from CPEG? Okay, so now moving on to comments from the public on agenda items. We welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during the meeting when the public is invited to speak. The first opportunity to comment on agenda items only is now. The second opportunity for public comment is towards the end of the meeting. Total time allotted for public comment is 30 minutes. Before you make your comment, please state your name and municipality of residence. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 30 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant to 3 minutes duration. Our public forums are not structured as a question and answer session, but rather are offered as opportunities to share input with the board. In instances where the board feels a response is needed, the presiding officer or superintendent will address the comment. And considering the amount of people here, we'll probably let all the comments be made before any response may be given. New Jersey statutes do not permit the board to discuss personnel or hiring in public session. Names of students should not be used. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of legal rights of those affected and identified in their comments, and be aware that they are personally, legally responsible with potential liability for all comments that they make to the board. The board shall not be held liable for comments made by members of the public. So sorry for cutting you guys off earlier. Jen, you can go ahead. Oh.
Just for you.
Yeah.
It is Hi, I'm Mallory Morales, Watchung. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of many of the boys, and I appreciate the update on the process of what went on to see and evaluate what students were interested in playing baseball or softball or any of the spring sports. However, parents were not made aware of what that process was or what the time frame was, and didn't have the opportunity to even talk to their kids about it. Like my son didn't even know that there was any sort of interest, raising, handing, or, discussion and gym class at all. Maybe he was absent that day, maybe he went to the bathroom, I don't know. But he did not know about it. I'm sure there was other children that didn't know about it. And, in terms of, that could be a part of the problem with lack of, interest, or, kids also need transportation. They need to check with their parents to see if, they have other commitments after school and if they could commit to something. So I have a problem with, the overall process and communication behind this. And also another thing is these students, especially I can speak for my own, has been playing baseball since pre-K, plays on club teams, travel teams, he plays up in leagues. How can you evaluate whether or not he's capable of playing in the middle school with other, you mentioned, like 7 older boys that had already showed interest. So, I think 7 older boys with a handful of other younger 6th graders should be sufficient for a team. I understand there's other safety concerns, but I'd like to understand also the ratio of what would make a safe team with the makeup that we have. So if there's maybe like 1 or 2 other 7th graders or 8th graders that maybe also were like my son and were not present the day that, this was discussed with them, there could be others that, are like my son and didn't know about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morales.
Hi, Neha Patel Watchung. I also have a 6th grader who is so excited to play baseball. He also plays a club team and a travel team. And I have 2 older children who are in high school now, and they both played softball and baseball. So just speaking from experience with my older 2, we're a small town. We don't have a lot of kids. We don't have a big pool of kids to choose from. And over the years, I think that the numbers have been dwindling. We see it in Little League, we see it on the travel team, and we definitely see it in middle school. I think that in the past, I remember when my older son was in 6th grade, he came home and he said, I made the team, but I don't really know how much playing time I'm going to get because 6th graders don't usually play a lot. But that year and the following 3 years that he played, there isn't a large number of kids. He played in 6th grade. He pitched in 6th grade. And I do understand the safety concerns. It was a big field for them, and it was a learning experience, but they did it, and they pulled through. The coaches made sure they were not overextending themselves as 6th graders, so they came in as relief pitchers. They put them in the outfield, but they loved it. They had the best experience all 3 years, both in softball and in baseball. And I feel that we're kind of taking that away from that opportunity for our kids this year. I know that when my son was in baseball, it wasn't a huge team, maybe 16 or 17, and I think that we have 14 or 15. I think from the numbers that we counted, there's like between 7th and 8th graders, there were 8 kids. And maybe
7,
Mallory has a
7 kids in grade 7 and grade 8. 2 of the grade 8 students were, if you absolutely had to have me, and then 6 grade 6. And I'm taking notes and I'll answer everybody at once.
Maybe like an email could have been sent out like, you know what, we're short of players. So if there's anyone that's may have not gotten the sign up alert or whatever, and I know last year it was a small team too. I think it was like 12 or 13 last year. So I think that we're just we're taking it away from the kids by not giving them this opportunity, or at least trying it, or even having tryouts to see if the boys are capable of handling a bigger field. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel.
My name is Veer Chatu from Watchung, and I'm in 8th grade currently, and I played in 6th grade on the baseball team, and I had a lot of fun. I feel like that all the sixth graders will also have a lot of fun. And when I was in sixth grade, I was able to play, pitch. I played a lot, and I had a lot of fun. And as I'm in eighth grade right now, I feel like this is my last year, and we have a lot of players that want to play for the team, and we should be able to play. Like, I want to play with my brother, and like, I feel like that'd be really fun. And like, I feel like all sixth graders, seventh graders, and eighth graders that want to play are looking forward to this, and they should be able to have fun and have this experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Tommy Sharkey, and I'm a sixth grade student at Valley View. And I introduce myself, and I'm a sixth grade student at Valley View who is unfortunately speaking on behalf of all the boys at Valley View who love baseball and unfortunately learned recently that there is no baseball team, even though there was no clear communication about this. Maybe the most communication about this was the PE coaches asking people in gym class to raise their hand to see if they were interested in baseball. Many people probably did not get the message. I know of at least 15 people, including many 7th and 8th graders, who want to play baseball, which is more than enough. Did you know that Anthony Volpe started playing baseball in 6th grade for Valley View, and look where he is now? Us wanting to play for Valley View baseball shows school spirit. Us wanting to play shows more spirit than just cheering on for Valley View. Baseball runs in Watchung. Thanks for listening for our opinion.
Anyone else?
Dan Hauk from Watchung. Just to reiterate some of the comments that were already made, it does seem like we have at least 15 kids, which I can tell you from experience with club teams, travel teams, is more than enough kids to play. As far as we know, we have 8 7th and 8th graders. I think we have 7 6th graders. And the other thing I would say is the 6th grade group is really strong. Like, these are kids, I've seen them for years. Like, it would be an awesome experience for them to get the chance to play with these, the older kids, even if they don't play a lot. And I think, that's really going to go a long way towards building a team, for the future. So I think it's something to keep in mind. We want to build a bench, and they really want to play for their school. They already have the opportunity to play for town teams, to play for club teams, but it's going to really mean something to them if they can actually play for Valley View too. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just going to wait and see if anybody else wanted to come up. Could you come, because you're streaming. Thanks. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Petra Sharkey, Tommy's mom, and I wanted to know what is the minimum people playing for the team?
I'm going to answer all at once. So I'll answer all at once.
Okay. And everything else what was said, I basically agree with. There was kind of a lack of communication between the parents. We got plenty of emails about the band music and this from school, but nothing about the sports. That's one thing I wanted to point that out. And it's nothing like playing for school. It's community, and I think it would be very beneficial for our kids, play with the older grade boys, and it would be just, I hope we can save it this year. And if not, I'm hoping that next year there will be better communication with the parents. Because my son came home today from school and basically said there's no baseball. He didn't say nothing about deadline, nothing about, I felt like the story was changing a little bit. First, there was like only 6th graders, and there was not enough people. Then maybe there's no coach. Then maybe there's a deadline. Then we don't have enough people. It's just, I felt like the story was changing today a lot. So I don't know what was gossips, what was the fact, who was telling the truth. But basically, that's all. I hope we can save it today for this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Good.
Right. So, you took notes. First of all, thank you, Tom Sharkey, that's your first name. Love your Volpe jersey. You are right that Anthony Volpe did start in sixth grade. I did not know that until earlier today, actually. But thank you for shouting it out. It was nice to see that. So a couple things. And you guys, the students, you're going to know this better than your parents when I repeat this, because this is coming from your teachers and coaches, what I'm about to say, okay? Starting in January in PE classes, Mr. B, Coach Leslie, when you're lined up on your spot, when you're in your uniform, before you start your PE class, right? That's where they ask, who's interested? Who wants to participate? They take those lists, right? That starts in January. Just so you all know, February 3rd, I got a message from Miss Kidd asking me to please come to a meeting because the lists that they had so far did not have nearly enough kids to field baseball or softball. And we talked about what to do because you do have to let the league know, right? If you're fielding a team, you have to let the bus companies know, we have to let everybody know. And the decision was made to spend the next week or so, we actually spent 10 days, trying to see if there are other kids. They know that you're coaches and teachers, right? Your PE teachers are also your coaches. They've known you, they work with you, to see if there were kids that were on other teams and other ways to boost those numbers, not just for baseball, but also for softball. Our after-school sports program started, hugely attended. Another opportunity to try and encourage kids. That program extends our gym curriculum, our PE curriculum, outside of the school day. And so you all know, because I think it's really important to know, your coaches love baseball too. Your coaches want a baseball team too. Everybody sitting here believes, right, being on a team is important. Not just for teamwork, but the same thing that it does when you're in the chorus or in a play. You develop a different level of connection, a different level of school spirit, right? Plus you're developing your skills. We all agree it's important. Your coaches reached out to other districts to see, like I said before, if they were seeing similar issues. They are. There's another district that hasn't announced what they're going to do yet. I won't share who that is. I am able to tell you Bedminster is not fielding a team. You have districts much bigger than we are that are concerned about the numbers. I had a conversation with leadership from Warren and Watchung Little League. I know our coaches also did, to see, right? We have club teams, we have travel teams. I asked specifically how far Little League extends. Is that our feeder program or is it, a competing program? They were wonderful explaining to me what's happened over the years and how we ended up having Warren and Watchung Little League. Your coaches also, so when our numbers were still not enough. And to be clear, we have one 7th grader. We have 4 to 6 8th graders, right? Again, there 2 were iffy if they could participate, but they wanted to be on the list. And then 6 6th graders. So if everybody that was on the list participated, you have 13, right? And one of the things that was made very clear to me, not just in the conversations with the other districts, because this is also true in Warren, the sixth grade participation is limited. It's limited not because you don't love baseball or your coaches don't love coaching you. I think it's really important for you to hear this. And I am actually reading something that I received from the coaches before they had to make the decision not to do this, okay? We want the sixth graders to still have fun playing, to enjoy the competition and the teamwork and the excitement of the sport they love. I am a coach who loves helping kids enjoy the game. It brings me endless joy. However, and you've heard me already talk about the difference in the bat, the difference in the baseline, the difference in the field from Little League to middle school. What they see, and this is over, they've been doing this for years and years, here in Watchung and other places. What they see is struggling with the long throws. It's excessive arm strain. There are overuse injuries, and then they hear from your club and travel teams that we've, spoiled them from those teams. They had to modify practices to stop doing so much throwing. Excuse me, for all students, right. I just mean in general, because the older kids had to fill in, right? Play multiple positions. We don't even have enough kids in 7th and 8th grade to be able to do that this year, right? This is the lowest number we've had. So just to continue with this, I don't know what a drop 3 bat is. I guess I'm hoping that you do. But they're very heavy. It's difficult to develop proper swing mechanics. Again, it increases the injury risk. Sixth graders pitching. I think it's awesome that both of you who stood up and talked about pitching, right? But it's few and far between for most kids, again, not just sixth graders, to be able to safely pitch from 60 feet, remember I'm reading him because I don't know where it is, 60 feet, and keeping the pitch count low. They find that it's almost impossible. Again, pitching fatigue, forfeiting games, overuse injuries, long-term injuries. We do not want to be responsible, right, for long-term injuries. Again, I talked about the practice modifications. They talked about skills progression. The other piece of this is we have 11 to 13 interested everybody, right? 11 to 13 total. I am told, I'm looking at the numbers. Well, I don't know what I can only tell you the list that our coaches have. So I'm going to talk about this. There is 1 7th grader, 4 to 6 8th graders, and 6 6th graders. And I will talk about that in a second. However, if you please stop interrupting me, I promise I'm working my way through this. This is not my area of expertise. I'm trying really hard. Nobody wanted to do this. We have spent weeks trying to figure out how to make this happen. So with 11 to 13 players, total players, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you need multiple pitchers, multiple catchers. You don't have that. The Little League shared with us that ideal, right, is 14 or 15 to 20, no more than 25. You couldn't, 11, you would not have the opportunity to be able to build the skills, the capabilities, is what we are told. And again, you have 11 to 13. They're just not enough to field a team safely. Hang on one second. I do want to just address one of the other things, and then we can have you come back up and ask other questions. I think the students who are here will be able to confirm. It's not just one day where you sign up for interest. And for all of our sports, when you get that interest, they send the packets, right? If you play other sports, you know, right? As soon as we can safely field a team, they send the packets home with the permission slips, all of the things you addressed, transportation, all of the schedule, the requirements, the physical, right? They made the decision on Friday to speak to the 7th and 8th graders, as I already mentioned, and let them know that there were not enough students, and you're an 8th grader, you told me. Did the coach or PE teacher meet with you individually or in a small group and tell you that there weren't enough students, but Mr. McConnell was working with the Little League to try and put together a 7, 8, and 9 organized program? He would be able to have more information within the next couple weeks. Okay. This is the information I have. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you feeling comfortable enough to share that. So 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, what I am told is that they are working to build this organized program in the next coming weeks. 6th graders, did they speak to you about Little League, about loving it, about being excited to have a team, stronger team next year, hopefully more participation? No. I can't, a little louder. No, this is yesterday. They said that met with the 6th graders. So how did you hear then from the coach or the teacher that there wouldn't be a team if you weren't part of the? Well, okay, I'm glad that you were able to do that when you asked. And did they speak to you at all? Oh, okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure, because the communication, it's not a deadline. We start in January trying to get participation. We got no additional participation from their efforts, from calling around to the clubs and the other leagues for 10 additional days, all the way up to February. I promise you'll be able to come up to the microphone again. All the way up to February 13th. You have to understand the coach's responsibility to be able to field a safe team, right? There wasn't the interest or the numbers. If there were, right, you wouldn't have this conversation because you would have gotten your packet and all of that. Miss Kidd, please, you live it every day. I'm trying to address.
Year is an exception to the rule. He was one of 2 6th graders that weren't cut, right? Your 6th grade year. So, superstar in the making, right? But I do want to just answer or add on to a little bit of what Dr. Glazer says. So obviously I've only been here for 5.5 years. Mr. B's been here for over 20. The process for signing up for all of our sports, whether they're winter sports or spring sports, has always been PE teachers get to see everybody. So they announce the signups, and they do it in multiple classes. They try to make sure they take attendance first so they know who's absent, and that's how they gauge the interest. Once we get our lists of kids that are interested, and I put it on the announcements, just so you know. We get our list of kids that are interested, and then they hold an interest meeting. At the interest meeting with the coach, they go over the packet, the deadlines for getting the medical forms in, the contract, all of those things. And we never got to that point this year. And the reason we never got to that point this year is because our lists were so significantly low. Now, I know Coach Leslie did coach baseball with a very small number of students, not as small as this year. He had more upperclassmen than we do this year also. But he had to significantly change practices. He had students that couldn't play their key positions because they were on multiple teams. We had students that would try to throw in from the outfield and then say, Coach, I can't play anymore. I'm out. If you overextend anybody at any age, that's what's going to happen. They actually stopped throwing in practices because the kids couldn't do it. Not that they couldn't reach the distance, they couldn't do it consistently for multiple teams without getting hurt. So these are the things that we have to think of. If we don't have enough students to play safely, we need to build our team for next year. We want our 6th graders to participate in 7th and 8th grade. We don't want to take the chance. And also, you're looking at whole numbers, assuming, like you said, that they would all make the team, whether it's 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. They make an effort, and they've made an effort in the past not to cut upperclassmen, especially 8th graders, so that way they can participate. But I can tell you from our enrollment, we have some players that are there because they're upperclassmen. If we had full cuts, we wouldn't even have as many upperclassmen as we have signed up. And Vera, you know that, right? You know who I'm talking about. So those are all the things that, aren't part of the communication. I agree. We will add the layer for all sports from now on with an e-blast to parents. Usually the communication, like when you talk about band and chorus and stuff like that, you're getting it. They're signed up for it already when you're getting those communications. So if your kids were signed up and part of the team already, you would have gotten those communications. So that's a little bit of the difference, but we will add that layer for all our sports signups for you, and I appreciate that feedback. Like I said, it's been the practice for over 20 years of relying on middle school kids to sign up. We did that for clubs. I think maybe they're getting it confused with sports. Well, not in the past 5 years, and I'm just saying. Did Coach Leslie put it up afterwards? Yeah. Okay. But also, like, it won't make a difference this year. We could do the sign up sheet and the e-blast. We can add all those different layers. But that's not what the issue is this year. Yes, that may have helped with 1 or 2 kids that were put on the list, but we have to really think about, like we keep saying, safely fielding a team. So nobody wanted to have this happen, but we're really looking forward to the next 2 years. So that's kind of where we are. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to ask people to come back up?
If anyone has anything new to add,
You need to.
can you come? Oh, maybe somebody could bring her the.
We could bring her.
Somebody bring her the microphone. Thank you.
And Karen, you can answer, because there is no deadline. We've said.
I'm going to say.
I'm gonna wrap.
Can you hear me? So you said you started in January, but and I asked when was the deadline. So do you know when the...
Mrs. Kidd, I think I answered it, and you just said the same.
When did you make the decision? Was it today? Was it like 2 weeks ago? Because we're not...
I said that by February 13th, we still had no additional students. On Friday, I am told that the PE teachers and coaches talked to the 7th and 8th graders. And yesterday is Wednesday, the 6th graders.
Because also...
No one came to me and said this is the deadline. We have a teacher that gave a small stipend to organize all of our athletics. We don't have it.
Where's the microphone? Karen, where's? Miss Kidd, grab the microphone back.
I just because the numbers of the players who wanted to play do not match what you have with our numbers. That's why I was asking.
Can't answer where your numbers come. I can only tell you that what our coaches and teachers have. And that's, you know, how again, as Mrs. Kidd said, how it's worked for however many years.
Sounds like we need at least.
I know we've gone over this before, but is the issue the overall number of kids, or is it the number of 7th and 8th graders? And just also, what number of overall kids do we need, and what number of 7th and 8th graders do we need?
10 to 20.
So the answer to the question has multiple parts. Just like we were talking about discipline earlier, it depends on the specific children. So the coaches and the PE teachers, we already know our kids. So yes, maybe they haven't seen Tommy on a full baseball field or anything like that, but we do know, especially the upperclassmen. So we have to look at total number. We have to look at the number of upperclassmen. We have to look at who's playing what positions and what skills they have. And also, like, knowing what happened with our 6th grade basketball girls, it was a shame that we had to forfeit games because they chose other commitments, even after signing a contract, to us. So there's so many different things in place, and that's why we need the cushion. So that way, if we have kids that have a conflict with another game, they get sick, they get injured, we can still field a team. We don't have to forfeit games. So it's like there's not one clear answer. There's multiple.
It's not just bodies. That's what we're saying. I said that when I asked Little League, I did answer that. When I asked Little League, they said that 14 or 15 to 20 is ideal, 25 is the most.
And just like we've done in the past, Warren and the other districts would allow like 1 to 2 6th graders to be on the team. So that's why like we're really looking at the upperclassmen, but we understand that there would be some 6th graders able to play. So there's, like I said, it's not one. Yes, I guess so. Yes.
Please remember that we're streaming this live, so if you can please come up to the microphone and speak so that anyone that's home that wants to be a part of this can also.
I guess the other question I have is, as far as assessing the abilities of the players, how can we do that if we haven't even had a tryout?
I can tell you that your coaches are also your PE teachers. I don't know the answer to that. One of the things, and I hate to say it because I asked the question, you know, if you don't know that the sixth graders that are interested, right? They didn't have enough kids to even do the tryout. It's not just the bodies. Please don't feel like you aren't skilled enough, students. Don't feel like, you know, your playing at Little League and travel and club is not valued. Both coaches, and I read what the first coach said about the love of the game and building, you said building the bench. I'll use your language because I like it. About building the bench and keeping your love of the game. All super important. And I asked, without this, and we don't have enough students to safely field a team, I don't, you know, I know that you asked us to reconsider. We don't have it. But I think what was important to me, even all the way back February 3rd, when we started calling around to other districts and asking the question, what are the opportunities? Does sixth graders have opportunities to play? Yes, in Little League, in club, inter-county, and travel. I was given 4 different ways that students could play, even if we couldn't field a team at school. Again, not what we want to do, but it's unfortunately looks like the reality.
Just looking at the numbers, you said 4 to 6 8th graders, 1 7th grader, 6 6th graders. And from what I'm hearing, it's really 4 8th graders, 2 that either don't really play or don't really want to do it.
No, they're just not, they're
That's
not
fine.
sure of that.
All right, so we've got a guaranteed 5 7th and 8th graders. And if we need, and let's say 2 of the 6 6th graders can play, because there were 2 exceptions one year. So now we have 7. And we're looking for at least 14 or 15. and I've played baseball. I played baseball my entire childhood. I agree, 14 and 15 is an ideal number. We're still looking at 7 or 8 additional children that we need, preferably between the 7th and 8th grade. Where are these children? If they want to play, then they need to step up and come forward and say that. I've heard someone in the crowd say there's 15, not 13. Okay, well, that's 2. We still need 5. Like, the numbers just aren't there, and there are a million ways for these kids to play. I love baseball as much as the next person. I was there for Volpe's opening day. I was sitting right behind home plate, like right next to Christine Eade, which was a complete coincidence. I love Yankee baseball as much as anyone. I would love to see Valley View have a baseball team, but we're just going around in circles. Like, we don't have the kids.
I agree.
Just move on.
I'm going to allow one more comment, and then we do have quite a lengthy remaining agenda, and then, so we'll have to move on. But yes, go ahead.
My name is Ami. I'm here in Devin's mom. So thank you for hearing us out. I think the problem here that we're all going back and forth is with the numbers. And I think that the communication that came from the...
And open it up again. Ask the coaches.
Thank you. That came up from the coaches to Ms. Kidd, you know, it's obviously a wrong number because the number you have is very different than the numbers we have on
Where are the numbers that you have
interest.
coming
So
from?
we have 7 8th graders, because I know you all keep saying 4.
4 to
and then
6.
another and a 7th grader. So that's 8 upperclassmen.
We're saying
In Veer's
7.
year, last year, they had 12 players on the team, and they did very well. They made it all the way to the championship with that team. Very close game, almost won that. So even with the 12 people, they made it to the championship. It was a wonderful experience for everybody. And so we do have, I mean, if there was some communication of, okay, do we have the right numbers, reaching out to the parents. I know Devin, you know, is very, very excited about sports, so his ears are open constantly about sports. But I know sometimes when I communicate it to our group of friends, like for example now with track or something, there are other kids who seem to have zero idea about, oh, there's track sign up, when is that? So
Have more than 70 kids signed up for track.
Yeah,
So if
but-
they've missed it, I don't know how, but that deadline happens to be next week.
Right, so he's very aware. He's very aware of that. He already informed me of it. But I just think if it was a way before the decision was made on February 3rd or whatever it was,
13th.
where parents were informed, where parents could talk to their children and say, hey, what do you think about baseball? Or hey, what do you think about soccer? You know, playing that. So like now, if for example there isn't if a baseball team doesn't end up happening, I can then talk to my son about, do you want to now try track? But if parents don't know about any of that, then we can't have that discussion with our children. Now, like I said, Devin is very attentive with sports, so he'll come and tell me, well, now maybe I'll do track. But that is not the same for everybody.
I
So
heard
parents-
Mrs. Kidd acknowledge that she heard you. And I,
would be
I-
helpful.
I think that is helpful, but I just need to say it's not just bodies on the field. We have to be able to safely field a team. And that is what the issue was.
I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out and speak, especially the students. That takes a lot of bravery. Unfortunately, we do need to move on. So I would like to move into executive session. The executive session where the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-11, permits the Board of Education to meet in closed session to discuss certain matters. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education adjourns to closed session to discuss a matter rendered confidential by federal or state law, student matters, a collective bargaining agreement and/or negotiations related to it, and pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiation and/or matters of attorney-client privilege. Further resolved, the minutes of this closed session may be made public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists and action may be taken. I have a motion to go into executive session, please.
Second.
You need a motion and a
Do
second.
I have a second? Manny made the motion. Did I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go into executive session. All right, so we've returned out of executive session. And moving on to action items. Mrs. Amadeo, could you move the action items under administrative?
Yes, I move administrative items 1, approve minutes of previous meeting, 2, affirm the superintendent's HIB report, 3, approve the agreement with Seton Hall University School of Nursing, and that is it.
Great. Could I have a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? No? All right. When you're ready, Mrs. Bishop Johnson, we could do a roll call, please.
Yes. Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mrs. Maddox?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez? Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, could you move items under B, personnel, please?
I move to approve appointment. Number 1, I move to approve appointments of musical director at Valley View Middle School. Number 2. Number 3, approve appointment of 2025 extended year coordinator. Number 4, approve revised leaves of absence. Number 5, approve extracurricular positions. Number 6, approve extra duties. Number 7, approve school supervision duty. That's it.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Mrs. Bishop Johnson.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Maddox?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Kraft, could you please move items under C, operations finance?
Sure. I'd like to move items C1, approve payment of bills, 2, approve transfer of funds 2024-2025, accept financial reports, authorize this, number 4, authorize the sale of surplus obsolete equipment. Number 5, approve payment application for Bayberry and Valley View HVAC upgrades. Number 6, approve additional voluntary employee disability vendor. Number 7, authorize waiver of requirement, special education Medicaid initiative program. Number 8, accept donation of banner celebrating boys basketball team. Number 9, accept donation of books to the Bayberry Library in support of an author visit. And number 10, approve professional development, school business, and related expenses.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. Can I have a roll call, please, Mrs. Bishop Johnson?
Yes. Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mrs. Maddox?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mrs. Santos, can you move the items under curriculum?
A, approve additional field trip location for 2024-2025 school year.
Thanks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? No? Okay. A roll call, please.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mrs. Maddox?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mrs. Jewett, could you move the items under policy, please?
Policy, first reading.
Yes, please.
First reading, it was for R75110. Second reading for, policy 75110, use of school facilities.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Mrs. Maddox?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything for board business?
You know, I have two things. I know you want to go home, but I want to tell you this anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So, my Governance 3 class, okay, what I took away from that was that they find that the districts where the Board of Ed expects academic rigor and makes no excuses, but just keeps working to improve all areas, has students that are high achievers. So that's what we need, rigor and making no excuses for ourselves. Just keep going and making ourselves good. And I have one more thing. The Historical Society in Watchung has made all these videos, and it goes way back, and there's one real good one about Camp Endeavor that you could see. So if you go to YouTube and you search Watchung history, it's been out for a while. I didn't know all about it, but I've been watching a couple of things. And I think it would be good for yourselves and also for the kids. They get to know what the history of this town is about. So that's it. Have a good night.
Phyllis, Camp what?
I'm sorry.
Endeavor.
Camp
Endeavor.
Camp Endeavor.
Thank you.
That's really a good one.
Thank you.
Oh, you'll learn about, the falls, Wetumpka Falls, and how the whole legend came about. You'll learn things, and the kids would too.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Me. I want to go back and revisit our discussion earlier in regards to the softball, baseball situation. And, I empathize with what the students were saying and the parents. And, I know that, there were middle schoolers, we want to put responsibility on them in whether there's whatever sports, whether it's academics, whatever it may be. But there's, based on the discussion tonight, I felt like there was a little bit of a miss in communication with the students, as well as what we were trying to discuss, whether there was deadlines, whatever there may be. And I know that there may be a past where, where there's an assumption that this is what's happened in the past, but I didn't see that there was a clear indication of a timeline. I know that maybe there's 2 months, whatever it may be. I don't know anything about sports, but I do know that participation's important, and whether it's we're going to be it's a traveling team. If there's more students out there that potentially would be involved in this sports, why not go back and, unless there's something that's preventing this from moving forward, can we go back and find out if there are more students that for some reason missed the boat on this? I don't know. I just don't feel like there was the right kind of communication that was presented to the students and the parents.
So I think Mrs. Kidd acknowledged that she also heard that. You're right. They've been doing it this way for 22 years, and they've never not had the numbers. So it's never been an issue, right? Right? Because they'd get the packet, the kid would play or wouldn't play, and that would be the end. This year is different. So I do think that I heard her acknowledge that. I don't know what the next step is, right? I'll report back. I think the teachers and coaches would probably watch, but I'll report back, and we'll see. Because for us, remember, it's not just, we want everybody to participate too. We want everybody to play. We believe in that, school spirit in addition to the clubs, all of that. But our responsibility, right, is that safety.
Right.
So they would still be doing tryouts. They would still be, right, to the father's, I'm sorry, I don't know his last name, but to the father's point, right? They would have to do tryouts and skills assessments. So I think that their teachers, their coaches, they are their teachers and coaches.
Right.
As Mrs. Kidd said, felt we could do all of that, but it doesn't still mean that there would be a team.
Right. Well, the other aspect of it is that, as a parent with children that are in sports, you have that, there is always that liability where your children are potentially going to get injured, and that going into any sport. So I think that if the parent indicates that, yes, this is a sport that I want my child to be in, knowing that there are those potential liabilities, that's a responsibility of the parent to take on, not, I mean, I know that as a school, there has to be that responsibility, but there is also.
This isn't like breaking a leg, right? These are
No, I know.
long-term repetitive issues. And again, I'm not a certified coach or PE teacher, but and we've listened, right? We're listening. If you knew the amount of effort that everybody put in to trying not to make this announcement, you have nobody wanted to do this, but it's unfortunately where we ended up.
Hopefully, this discussion will increase everyone's awareness about the needs for their children to apply for baseball, softball, sports, so that in the future this doesn't happen again. Because we are the home of Anthony Volpe, and it is sad that we don't have a baseball and softball team.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what changes, if any, come out of this. You know, it can be every year could have set time frames for signing up, so every year it's the same and kids know what to expect. Having firm deadlines, to Jessica's point, like it didn't sound like there was a deadline. When you give people deadlines, it's clear their time frame to sign up, and maybe kids procrastinate. So like I said, I'm just throwing out a couple ideas. It will be very nice to hear what comes out of this.
I do believe Karen acknowledged that, and we can do all of that. I just want to be clear and on the record that even doing all that still doesn't mean you have
100%.
enough kids.
We just want to give the kids the best chance
Of course.
to have a team. That's all.
I think
We owe it to
everybody
them.
agrees with that. Everybody agrees.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to comments from the public, but seeing as no one's here, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, yeah,
Meeting adjourned.